Hello and welcome to the Dead NBA podcast. My name's Sean and joining me as always is the one and only Dante Buffman, man. How are we?
Sean, Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. Buon Natale.
Oh,
from me and mine to you and yours. For our non-native speakers, that's actually Merry Christmas or some weird rendition of it in Italian.
Wow. You really have been picking up Italian lately.
So I've been working on a bit where it's like... It's like, oh, whenever you just talk about Sean, just be like, oh, you can't speak it, but you can understand it. You can understand the language. But how did Father Christmas treat you?
Father Christmas, I must have been on the naughty list this year.
Yeah.
He always done like a flyover of my house.
Yeah.
Or the chimney was too narrow or something of that variety.
You don't do gifts, yeah?
No, well, we do gifts, but my family generously made a financial contribution to my upcoming travels.
True, that's probably better.
Which was a very generous contribution. So as a result, there were no visits from Father Christmas for me. My brother and I decided, because we're travelling together, we wanted to save a bit of money. We didn't do gifts for each other. So it was a low-key Christmas for me.
That's why I've never booked a trip right after Christmas, because I need the landfill before I go away.
Yeah, seriously, you're telling me.
But what did I get? Good question. Mum got me a nice pot plant with a bay leaf tree in it. By the way, is it a bay tree or a bay leaf tree?
It would be a bay tree.
Cool.
And the bay leaf would be the leaf.
The leaf. That's
of
what
the tree.
That's what I thought. But I had someone jump down my throat going, "No, it's a bay leaf tree." Oh, okay.
I think it's. Yeah, I mean, we can fact check this.
Nah, don't worry about it. Let's just leave it in the ether. And what are the odds?
Yeah, it's definitely a bay tree.
Father Christmas knew exactly the centimetres needed to fit under the hot water drip that keeps dripping. So now it's just going to get watered every single day.
Wow. Really?
What are the odds of him just knowing that? But I also
How hot's the water?
It's just the runoff. You know the hot water machine. It's got a little copper pipe.
Yeah.
Drip, drip, drip.
Can't be good for the soil if it's too hot.
It can't be too hot.
Oh, well,
yeah, I think
play
it's
just,
on. Yeah. But the reason I bring it up is because I got Articulate, and then I was going to tell you about my Articulate greatest hits, but I said I'll save it for the pod. Articulate, for those who haven't played it, please play it. It's a fucking incredible game. But pretty much, it's like you'll get a word based on whatever the clue is, and you just can't say that name, and you have to kind of smash through as many guesses as you can in a minute without saying the word. We were having a dinner party here. It was my housemate's brother, who I just met for the first time, but I fucking knew we were going to be on one. So as soon as we were playing Articulate, I'm like, Dean, I'm with you. And he just gave me a little nod.
You're a bit of a rogue operator.
Me?
Yeah.
Just pairing with some random person.
Yeah, pretty much.
Well, her name's Rhyme.
Yeah.
She.
Well, I mean, you can't ignore the fated nature of that matchup. I mean, I'm a social person also, but I'd be avoiding the randoms like the plague. I'd be sticking close to my friends, holding on to them for dear life. And here you are, just the bloke you've never met saying, let's go.
There has been a bit of history where I was like, I'm like, I really want to meet him. We're about to meet him. He had some medical emergency where we couldn't meet.
So
something else happened. He's been elusive up until this dinner party. Also, at the dinner party, it was like the biggest thunderstorms of the year. So it must be fate, right?
Yeah, seriously. Thor getting up to some stuff up there.
But we're playing Articulate. The topic's people. Like we won, right? We won the game. But we're going through people. Thank you. We're going through people, and it's like, we're just on the same wavelength. The clues aren't even that good, but he's just like, US President, I'm like, John F. Kennedy, bang. He goes, James Bond, I'm like, Roger Moore, bang. We're just smashing through.
You're just getting
with
him.
It's pretty broad clues,
yeah.
But whatever the clue is, I've just bang, 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 bang.
That's synergy.
That is synergy. And then as we're talking, Thunder's banging.
So I played Articulate for the first time like 3 days ago on Boxing Day. I enjoyed it. It was a bit chaotic because we were playing with like 15 people.
Ooh.
Yeah, a lot of people.
How big are the teams? 3 or 4?
There was I think 4 teams of 3 and one team
left. Yeah.
Multiple teams of 3 and one team of 4, something like that. So I'm looking forward to playing it in a more controlled setting. Do you play it where you're allowed to skip cards?
I play you're only allowed to skip one.
Yeah.
And if you've skipped one, you're reading it like, oh, I don't know that one. You go back to that first one.
Oh, you're allowed to go back.
But it's like, it's one or the other. And if you knock off one of them, then you move on to the next one.
Okay.
Because if you just skip, you end up repeating some of the questions you get earlier in the game.
Yeah.
In my experience.
That definitely seems like it would be the case. Because there was a bit of contention as to whether you could skip, because we were playing you could skip.
Freely
Skip. Or whether you couldn't skip at all. And then last night I was playing Taboo, which is like articulate, except you get a list of words you can't say in your description,
yeah.
which sometimes makes it very difficult because you're like, oh, how do I describe the word sneeze without saying the word nose or like booger or, you know?
Congestion. Tap yourself.
Yeah, exactly.
I love these games so much.
It was good fun. It was good fun, but yeah, it was a bit of a point of contention about the skipping. So we're playing Taboo last night, and we started with you can't skip, and then we moved to the one skip system, and there's nothing
OSS,
nothing worse than you like looking at something and being like, oh, this is going to take me a good 25 seconds to explain. It's probably the juice probably isn't worth the squeeze. I'm just going to skip it.
Yeah.
And then immediately the next one, you're like, oh, fuck. I genuinely can't explain this one.
Yeah.
And
So I have, you can go back to it.
Yeah.
All right, well, pretend that we're playing articulate and you can't say the words Luka Doncic. You might say 60, 21, 10 because that's the stat line he had. Yeah, I'm not getting any laughs out of that.
Nah, that's a pretty bad joke. But 60, 21, 10, like that's laughable in and of itself. So maybe you should have led with that.
True. We'll start off with just the biggest news of the past couple of days. Obviously, this is the first time we've recorded in 2 weeks because we took time off over Christmas. And Luka Doncic, we were going to talk about the big news, but we have to mention that just the biggest game of arguably NBA history has happened. Not in terms of what happens after the game and the ramifications of the win, but just a fucking monster stat line. Like this is, we spoke a couple of weeks ago asking, can Luka Doncic keep it up? And it's like, well, if you're doing things that Wilt Chamberlain hasn't done, you might actually be able to keep it up.
Yeah.
And they obviously beat the New York Knicks in overtime. But the fact that this crazy stat line aligned with the other crazy stat, which it's coming from ESPN Stats and Info, which is that teams that were trailing by at least 9 points with less than 35 seconds remaining in a game. Am I reading that right? Mm-hmm. All of those teams in NBA history was 0 and 13,884 until Luka Doncic did it. Just an incredible end of game luck, execution, more luck, getting that rebound off that final free throw, and Luka to grab the ball off the rebound. There were a couple of seconds left, but just to shoot the shot while falling down is just no matter how hot you are, that's a fucking tough shot to grab a contested rebound and just throw a little floater.
Through a crowd of bodies all scrambling for the ball as well.
Yeah.
And to have the game sense to know that you have to kind of get it up. I mean, when the ball went through the hoop, there was 1 second left. So if he tries to bring that down and go back up, it's getting mighty close. So he doesn't even bring it down; he just goes for it. And then his little dance at the end after, he's just fucking D up. Yeah, I mean 13,884. That's quite a lot. That's quite a lot of evidence to suggest that this almost never happens.
Yeah.
And how often does the intentionally missed free throw actually work?
Yeah. He threw it perfectly, just chipped and bounced up.
The last one I can remember working is the Russell Westbrook Steven Adams one from maybe 5 or 6 years ago. Where Russ misses the free throw and then Stadams gets the ball and gives it back out to him and he hits a deep three. And that's pretty much it. That play is pretty much a no-hope situation anyway. So for him to not only execute the free throw, but for the Mavs to end up with the ball and for Luka to then hit that, mid-air, he had possession of the ball for 0.2 seconds shot. It is miraculous enough that it makes sense that there was there are almost 14,000 previous instances where this didn't happen.
Yeah. And just, like, so backbreaking for the Knicks. Like, heading into overtime, Luka just buried them because you've got all the momentum. You've got the momentum of 14,000 teams that haven't been able to do this. That's...
Yeah. And I was just thinking, we a few weeks ago watched the Pelicans-Suns game where the Suns won and Booker went for 58. How much better of a game was this than that? Like, on an individual performance, when you talk about two people who were scoring 60 and 58.
Yeah.
This is so much better of a game than what Booker did. And Booker scored like 58 and led a 25-point comeback.
Yeah.
And, couldn't miss in the third quarter. And at least I was watching it thinking like, fuck, this is one of the best games I've seen in a long time.
Yeah.
And Luka's just out here just eclipsing that easily. Yeah, goddamn, he's pretty good.
He's pretty good. Just a little bit of a different take, just to wrap this up. So the Knicks were on a bit of a tear. There was obviously the funny little report where it goes, yeah, me and my bros were just talking about this club. But the Knicks and Nets were on a 7-game or a 6-game win streak at the same time for the first time in NBA history. Me and my homies were just talking about when was the last time two New York-based teams went on a 6-game win streak at the same time. But yeah, they won 8 straight as part of that streak. Everyone was playing well, and then they've lost 4 straight now, and this was a winnable game to be up by 2 points with 2 seconds left. Like, you want to win those games. And now the Knicks they're on a 4-game skid and have fallen to the 6th seed, I believe, in the East. I haven't written it down, but they're in the playoff race, and they've definitely solidified themselves. But it's like, this is a bit of a back-breaking loss. So all the more power to Luka, who just seems to be thriving off breaking backs.
Yeah, well, and all of that, and the Mavs are still kind of exactly where the Knicks are.
Yeah. I don't know if we should talk about this, but it's just the MVP race is heating up. I feel like just give us a couple of comments here, because the argument for Nikola Jokic to win a 3rd straight MVP, which would just be incredible, is the Denver Nuggets just have to run away with the Western Conference and run away with just the NBA record just to be the best team in the league. And they're the top of the West at the moment after a few losses to some of the other guys up there. And Nikola Jokic is having, while Luka Doncic is having 60, 20, and 10, Nikola Jokic isn't far behind with like some 40, 10, 10, some 40, 20, 10s. And it's going to be a very interesting race. Something that we called a couple of weeks ago and said, it looks like Luka's just going to win the MVP. We might not be right with that.
No, because I think that it's going to be that question of like the Westbrook MVP year, like how far down the standings can you be and still be considered an MVP? Because the Mavs are currently 6th and the Nuggets are 1st in the West. So, that's the tiebreaker. And it's a pretty fucking big tiebreaker to say that one team is like an elite team. And the narrative around Jokic is still kind of like, for as much as MVP is a narrative award, neither MPJ or Jamal Murray have been consistently at their best this season, which is exactly what we saw last season with Jokic, where they were absent and he had to kind of carry. He's doing it again. You mentioned the crazy stat lines. So he's kind of doing what Luka is doing with better results.
Games, yeah.
So that is a pretty big tiebreak, and it won't that won't count for nothing when it's time for people to actually start thinking about their ballots. But then at the same time, like if you are putting up truly historic numbers and historic stat lines, like that is going to keep Luka in the conversation regardless of record, because that's what we saw with Westbrook, that's what we saw with Harden the 2 seasons that he finished 2nd. Like if Harden had the first 60-point triple-double in NBA history, and that season finished 2nd in MVP voting, because people are like, that's pretty insane that no one's ever done that before. You averaged 36 points a game, literally the most since Wilt Chamberlain. That's pretty insane. You're gonna be there at the end of it because of those. But yeah, Jokic in his own right is kind of balling out.
He had 43 points the other day and didn't hit a single 3-pointer.
Yeah.
That's just a lot of big body work.
Heaps of big body work.
Yeah.
And the stamina on him to be able to continue to do that.
Yeah.
Such a big boy.
Yeah.
it's harder for him to do that than for other people to do that.
One final comment on that. Ben Taylor Thinking Basketball had a really good video saying, okay, it's time to stop calling Nikola Jokic the best passing big of all time. He might just be the best passer of all time.
Yeah.
And I'll spoil a little bit for you because it's not so much, but it's more of just a cool thing. But he just plays this whole 10-minute video talking about comparing him to other passers in history and just showing how he's passing the ball. And then at the end of it, he goes, all these highlights that you've seen are from this season alone. And it was just like a 10-minute sizzle reel of just incredible passes from one season of his career.
Yeah.
And 37 games of this season as opposed to a full 82-game sample.
Yeah.
He
fully might.
The NBA. It's a great time to be a basketball fan.
It is a great time to be a basketball fan. You're right about that.
But let's catch up on some news that we've missed since we haven't spoken since Christmas. Again, Bon Natale. But we'll start off with the smallest but biggest news is that Devin Booker will miss at least 4 weeks with a groin injury coming from Suns PR. Booker missed 6 of the Suns' past 9 games, but returned early to play on Christmas Day against the Denver Nuggets, which was another incredible game. Did you catch that or watch the highlights of the...
I've seen the highlights of it.
Just fucking awesome. What are your thoughts on the Aaron Gordon dunk? Should it have been a charge? Should it have been a block? What's the...
to be honest... Give him the dunk.
Yeah, if you're gonna make it,
if you're doing that with 1 second left on the clock, you kind of earn that.
Yeah.
Definitely the best game sealing dunk since DeMar DeRozan over Anthony Tolliver about 6 years ago, which lives in my heart and my head. But yeah, you give it to AJ. Also, was it Shamet?
Shamet, yeah.
Poor Shamet.
Yeah, and not only did he get knocked over, he got fallen on.
Yeah.
And the crowd was going nuts. It was that's such a fucking cool dunk.
Yeah. It was one of those ones where the social media kind of ran away with it. And usually I find that kind of thing tedious. It's okay, I get it that there's 7 different angles of this and one day later...
have you seen the Phantom Cam?
Yeah. One day later, they're still playing the 7 different angles, but this is truly a superlative dunk. It was
actually, I know you're going to love this, it was the first Instagram clip that I've bookmarked in years.
Wow.
I actually
Instagram
bookmarked
clip savable.
Right up there with Marquise Chris.
Yeah, it's a Marquise Chris level highlight.
But so Devin Booker's out. He played 4 minutes on Christmas Day and then left with an injury. He joins Cam Johnson, Cam Payne, and Landry Shamet, who's missing 1 game, and Jay Crowder, who are all either out or on the injury list for the Phoenix Suns. You guys are no longer the 1 seed. It's looking like you're going to slide a bit. I'm sure you're not going to slide too much, but what are your thoughts as a Suns fan going, how the fuck are we going to steady the ship with 4 weeks Devin Bookerless?
Well, I don't know how we actually are going to steady the ship, to be honest, because CP3 is in complimentary mode at the moment. He's not... I don't have any faith that he has the ability or desire to kind of take over.
Score 20.
And just be the number 1 option for this team right now. And Mikal Bridges might pop off for 30 here and there, but again, he's just always in complimentary mode. He's kind of going to play the same way regardless of who's out there with them. And DA hasn't really been able to pivot to taking a lot of shots and increasing his offensive usage whilst Book's been out. So we've just been kind of relying on this cast of characters off the bench. Dwayne Washington had 26 and 8 yesterday. Shamet's been shooting the lights out. Stuff that feels like found money, awesome, but that's not sustainable or that's not going to last.
You need to find it every morning.
Yeah, exactly. And you look at the roster and it's there's actually not that much kind of high level role playing talent, and the ones that the high level role playing talent that we do have are currently on the shelf because Campaign's been playing pretty well this year. Kind of not as good as he was a few years ago, but still more than capable at the backup point. Cam Johnson's still out from that meniscus tear earlier in the season, so we're pretty thin. We were relying on Booker to take 25 shots a game, and that is just being distributed throughout the other wing size players on the team. And I mean, we're 4-6 in our last 10, and it's been pretty kind of ugly, even since before Booker left with that injury. And it's concerning because groin and hammy with him has been the kind of the story over the last 24 to 30 to 36 months, and it just keeps recurring.
Yeah,
this is a consistent theme, coming back and playing. Usually he gets more than 4 minutes in, but he'll come back and play 2 or 3 games and be like, oh fuck, hammy's gone again.
Yeah,
that's another 4 weeks.
Yeah,
and it just makes me a bit nervous. I'm not feeling very optimistic, cautious or otherwise, about the next little stretch of Suns basketball.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. If you can stay on like a 4-6 pace for the next 4 weeks, and obviously slide a little bit, but stay in the playoff race, that's all you'd want to do. But yeah, it's obviously worrying that when he does come back, what if he does have this re-injury? The only sort of saving grace I can think of is that there is still a Jay Crowder trade to be made. And if you can get that done sooner rather than later, whether that is for like a Kyle Kuzma, which I don't think you can do, or whether that's for just a different human being, just to bring someone in. You talked about Jordan Clarkson early in the season. That would be a creator who would be awesome right now, but do you really want to trade away like your one trade chip just for a short-term fix? I would say no. So yeah, if maybe there's some help coming in a PJ Tucker deal, but sorry, a Jay Crowder deal. But I'm just not sure. Again,
though, like the help that's gonna come in the Jay Crowder deal is likely going to be help that fits in with our optimized version of our lineup,
which it should.
But those players aren't always able to shoulder more load. Nor would you want them to shoulder more load when push comes to shove. Jordan Clarkson is someone who would be perfect in this exact situation. Because you can just say to him, okay, like, you're going to need to take 22 shots a game. No shot's a bad shot, just be aggressive and, like, do what you can for us. But there are lots of players who would be great on this Suns team that you just wouldn't want to give that license to at all. And they couldn't take that license, to be honest. So we're kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place where we've invested in this era of Chris Paul basketball, and we're getting less on that investment than ever before. And it remains unclear whether that's because he's just aging out and doesn't have it anymore, or the repeated, arm and shoulder injuries have like really kind of sapped his ability to do what he wants to do on the court, or whether he just understands that he needs to average 10 and 8 for most of the season so he can really kick it into gear in the postseason. But
I mean, as he's only ever just faltered at the playoffs every single time, so I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt because he's only been good for the last million regular seasons. I'm assuming that as soon as it comes like April, he'll ramp it up, and then as soon as the playoffs happen, it's like bang, there he is. He's back to being 20 and 10.
Yeah.
But it is a little bit concerning because you would want 20 and 10 right now, but then it's like, okay, well, we need to be there for the playoffs. At least you've already proven, you've already made the finals, you've already proven you can be a 1 seed. You've won so many regular season games. That makes it a little bit easier for you because you could, like the Golden State Warriors did last season, waltz into the playoffs in what we were the 5th seed. And still make a run. So it's you've got nothing to prove. You would just rather have home court weekend.
You would rather have home court weekend, and we're currently 5th in the West with a legion of teams like right behind us that are within 1 or 2 games. But we could very easily be down to like 9th or 10th by the time this little Booker stretch is over. And again, like it's at least 4 weeks with the recurring injury that they've kind of rushed him back from, and hasn't been and rushing back from it, and that's proven to be premature. So they should be ultra cautious with this going forward, which means like could we see it be 6 weeks? Like probably. Also, whilst we're talking about recurring injuries to great players on my favourite sports teams, Paul went out for Reece James, wing back for Chelsea Football Club.
What happened to him?
Seriously hurt his knee right before the World Cup. Was trying to furiously rehab it. Would have been the starting wing back for Gareth Southgate's England team. Gets left out of the squad. Spends the whole time rehabbing, coming back. Hasn't played in like 2 months. Absolutely rinsing Bournemouth down the right-hand side in his first game back. 51 minutes in, same knee. Injured again.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Next piece of news is that Zach LaVine has, quote, fans, unquote, within the Mavericks front office, coming from Tim McMahon and Zach Lowe of ESPN. This was on the Low Post. This Zach LaVine, just the Bull stuff, it's getting a little bit old. It's like, okay, we understand the Bulls are losing games. We understand that the Bulls would like to win games. We understand that the front office doesn't want to trade their stars because they owe their pick to the Orlando Magic. But make a decision. If you just drag this out to the trade deadline, you might get a smaller and smaller haul if you're Arturas Karnisovas. And in terms of just basketball fans, I want to see if he is going to go to the Mavs and if he is going to pair up with the 60-21-10 Luka Doncic. I want to see that earlier sooner rather than later.
Yeah.
It's just, there's not much of a report here. I just wanted to mention it so we can get it out there. As well as sort of going alongside this, DeMar DeRozan could seek a trade from the Bulls in the off-season, keyword being the off-season. That report was from Chris Haynes of Bleacher Report. What are your thoughts on this? We've already spoken about the Bulls, but what are your thoughts on these sort of two new developments since we last spoke about them?
Well, we spoke about the Bulls, two weeks ago? And, I mean, we were going to talk about them a week before that. And ever since we conceived of the idea of just kind of looking at what's going on for this team, it's just nothing's changed. Nothing's gotten better. LaVine, I mean, on the Mavs side of that report, LaVine in Dallas is something that I really, really like. Particularly if that does happen sooner rather than later, because right now his value is at its lowest point it's been in the last couple of years. That's he would be the perfect complementary offensive piece to Luka.
Definitely.
Someone who's so malleable and can do whatever you need of him.
And when fully healthy and when playing for America, he looked good on defense. He looks like a long athletic wing.
Yeah, for sure.
And yes, he was playing against Sergio Llull, but he looked like he knew what he was doing. And you were hopeful heading into this season.
To invigorate a player who's played on shit teams his whole career, then putting him next to a genuine MVP candidate on a team that's made it to the Western Conference Finals.
And LaVine might just be a poor man's Devin Booker when it comes to number one option. So a number two option next to
Devin Booker is a great comparison in terms of that point that I just made, because Booker was unfairly for years maligned as an empty stats kind of guy, kind of like LaVine has been before the last two seasons, where he's really just shown you actually are an all-star level player. You're you're probably one of the 12 or 14 best scorers in the league, period. There's no real arguing with that. But Booker used to get lambasted for being bad on defense or for not trying on defense. And then the conversation the last two and a half years has just been whoa, Devin Booker's really turned it around. Some of that is erroneous because he actually was a decent defender before, but a lot of that is okay, put this all-star player in a winning situation, give them something to play for, and all of a sudden that element of their game really comes to the fore. So LaVine has shown that he can be a good defender, and I don't doubt that would be the case in Dallas. That would just be an awesome situation for the Bulls.
We talked about it. It's depressing.
It is depressing, and DeRozan kind of looking to potentially get out of there would be some of the most almost Greek tragedy level stuff that we've seen in the modern NBA, because the story of that to go from he was looking at signing the taxpayer MLA with the Clippers, 1 year, $6 million thereabouts, and instead he signs a 3-year, 80-something million deal. What is it? It's 87.
I think 85.
81. 3 years, $81 million with the Bulls.
And they have to give up a 2025 pick to do that.
But not only that, he makes All-NBA second team in his first year and has one of the best mid-range shooting seasons we've ever seen, period. Leads them to the postseason. And then in his second year as playing at an all-star level, you get more out of him than you possibly could have ever expected to at age 32 and 33, when it looked like he might have been kind of done when he was in San Antonio. And then he's just I really don't want to be here. You're going to have to trade me somewhere else.
Yeah.
That would be just an Odyssean journey. and kind of funny.
Yeah.
When you think about it all.
Kind of funny. Just also on the DeMar DeRozan front, there's been a lot of fake reports where it's like the Lakers are monitoring the situation. They would be interested in a DeMar DeRozan trade, whether that's the old faithful 27, 29 picks, whether that's going to happen or not, whatever. But just in terms of the basketball fit, like LeBron's a 4 and AD's a 5, and we know that's when they're at their best. And you want to get as many shooters around him as possible. DeMar DeRozan wants the ball in his hands for 24 seconds to take a good yet contested shot. And that's like, you need to base your whole offense around DeMar DeRozan. Like, he can obviously do a little bit of other stuff, but it's like you need to clear out one of the sides of the basketball court. Yeah. I don't love that fit next to Anthony Davis and LeBron James.
And, DeMar, to his credit, showed in San Antonio that he could play up. He basically played the 4 for his last season in San Antonio, and he averaged about 6 assists. Showed that he can be a point forward. Awesome. He doesn't have to be just this, like, mid-range ISO ball scorer. He can facilitate from the 4 and set everyone else up. Again, what did you say? LeBron's playing the 4, Davis is playing the 5.
And if you don't think they've got enough shooting right now, with Patrick Beverley and Austin Reeves, and
it's also not conceptual with the Lakers. It's not like, I'd love to see what this team looks like with great shooters around LeBron and AD, because they literally won a fucking NBA championship 3 seasons ago doing that.
Yeah.
So the fact that they have done it, seen how well it works, and then spent pretty much all of their
the next 24 months stopping that.
Yeah, not actively not doing that is pretty funny. Like, the DeRozan fit would just be would be abominable.
It's just, you're just getting a name at that point.
Yeah.
So, fuck the Lakers. Next piece of news, there's a, quote, rising belief, unquote, that the Wizards will trade Kyle Kuzma this season, coming from Mark Stein on his Substack. He reports that Kuzma, while he has a player option for next season, he is considered a lock to enter free agency. That's quite obvious. He can just make more money if he enters free agency, but if you're the Washington Wizards, you don't want to give up the asset. You don't want to lose the asset for nothing. The Wiz are currently 12th in the Eastern Conference, and they're 1 game ahead of the Orlando Magic, who are 13th in the East. Trading Kyle Kuzma. We're hearing a lot of reports that Kyle Kuzma will be traded and he'll, XYZ, go somewhere. Not so many reports where it might be like a Utah Jazz that are like, oh, we want to trade for him. There's not many teams attached to him, but if I'm 29 other teams, if I'm 30 teams, if I'm the Wiz, I'd want to keep him as well because he's a good basketball player. I would love to grab Kyle Kuzma, and whether you re-sign him or what. If you're a contender like the Phoenix Suns, you could do with him right now, but just a good basketball player. I just don't know where he goes at the moment. Have you thought about where he might land?
Well, every single contender should want to get him. I've realistically only thought about him coming to the Suns, which I think would be fucking awesome. The issue is this. He's essentially the best wing on the Wizards.
Yeah.
Right now.
Yeah.
Which is crazy considering that they've invested top 10 picks in Rui and Denny in the last 3 seasons.
We should probably mention that the Wizards offered Rui for Jay Crowder.
Yeah. Which I think Phoenix rightly turned down.
I think I did as well.
So it's kind of weird that Kyle Kuzma is the best wing on the Wizards. But I'm skeptical of the valuation that the Wizards are going to put on this. I don't think that they're going to just hand him off for peanuts, which means that contenders that would feasibly benefit from him, imagine him in Milwaukee or something, a luxury shooting depth piece, who can do a little bit on offense when the stars are sitting, be a little bit of Chris Middleton insurance as he's had his injury issues. That would be incredible, but they just don't really have the assets to bring to the table to make something like that happen. Outside of a lightly protected distant future first. So teams like that are kind of off the table.
My dream situation, which I've done in 2K multiple times now, is just somehow work it out so that you can trade him for John Collins and just give Trae Young just a shooting, scoring 4 next to Clint Capella, who Clint Capella is going to be the only guy inside the paint.
John Collins might be the most Wizards player I've ever seen.
John Collins next to Kristaps Porzingis is like one of his better situations where you've got a bit of shooting at the 5 and rim protection, just making up for everything John Collins doesn't do.
No blokes on that list that can defend on the perimeter though.
Don't worry about it.
Or
Who needs
even
that?
remotely close to it.
I would love to see Kyle Kuzma in Atlanta, but what are they going to give up? Like
Wouldn't it be crazy if you told, said that 2 seasons ago to yourself?
No, I did it on 2K 2 seasons ago.
2 seasons ago?
Yeah, this is my 3rd year running of trading Kyle Kuzma to the Hawks.
God damn it.
He's just one of those guys that isn't great at 2K though. You know how some guys it just never works out.
Yeah.
Never works out on the sticks.
I haven't played 2K in about 4 years, so I will take your word for it. But I'm just thinking like Kyle Kuzma's stock at various points in the last few seasons has been like low. And John Collins' stock at various points in the last few seasons has been very high. No higher than when they went to the fucking Eastern Conference Finals. And it was like, whoa, it's John Collins and Trae Young. Yeah, that's a great shout. Kuzma is kind of the exact idea of what you wanted DeAndre Hunter to be. And what he has failed to be.
Yeah.
And weirdly, the Hawks, who have not been particularly good this season, have ended up in the same spot that they were 3 years ago, where they've just got a couple of good bigs, a couple of good guards, and no one in between. Because with Hunter not developing anywhere near the way that you would have hoped, Reddish gone, Herder traded.
All future picks thrown into DeJounte Murray.
There's really no viable wing options there outside of an injury-riddled Bogdanovic, who really is more of a guard than a wing at this point.
Yeah.
Kuzma is the exact sort of player that they would need. I really like that.
Yeah, it's just I don't know. Their pick obligations for DeJounte Murray, it's the next 4 drafts or maybe the next 4 after next season. So it would have to be like one of those Lakers future pick, as in something in 27 or 28 or 29. Which honestly, if you're and we should mention that the Hawks front office has been shaken up. Like Travis Schlenk has been demoted while Landry Fields has been promoted to the lead decision maker. Should mention that you can't do much. The best thing you could do is trade for Kyle Kuzma, who's on an expiring deal essentially, and just hope that you can fucking re-sign him, and just hope that the Wizards value John Collins more than the rest of the league does. Because there's few ways to get a good scoring 3-and-D wing that's even got a little bit of ISO scoring himself.
Well, there's one way to get it, and that's to make sure that the bloke that you drafted 4th actually becomes that wing. I guess the haze already in the barn with that one.
Do you just want to wrap up on the mile point?
Which one?
We've got 2. Wasn't even a joke. The Hornets.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, final piece of news is that Miles Bridges and the Charlotte Hornets are discussing a new deal, according to Adrian Wojnarowski of ESPN. Miles Bridges, you might have heard of him. We've done a few podcast episodes on him and segments on him. He is currently not playing, but also serving 3 years of non-prison time after abusing his girlfriend at the time. He didn't sign his qualifying offer because the NBA said that essentially if you do come into the league, we will suspend you. The court proceedings have happened. We now know what his sentence is, which is, again, no prison time. So the Hornets are going to offer him a deal, and there is really no precedent for this because he didn't sign his qualifying offer, which makes him just a free agent. The Hornets can offer him, they can offer him his max, right? Or they could offer him just absolutely nothing. But the NBA has said through various channels, and through one of those channels being Woj, the NBA said, if you sign him, we're going to suspend him for a year. So they could sign him to a 1 year, $1 million trillion deal, but he's just not going to get any of that money because he's going to be suspended immediately and not eligible to get paychecks from his league salary. So if you're the Hornets, it sucks to talk about this brutally in a financial sense, but do you offer him a 1 year deal and then just hope to re-sign him later? Because he's not going to get any cent of that 1 year deal, assuming the NBA bans him for a year, not 6 months, which I think they will ban him for a year. Or do you offer him to a 4 year deal, and because his market's depressed at the moment, do you give him a 4 year deal and just know that every cent you've signed him to in that first year he's not going to see, and then it's pretty much just a 3 year deal that starts next off season? again, why are we negotiating with a guy who's done shocking things? But I feel like the Hornets have made their decision on what they want to do there, which is something that you and I are waiting to see what they do, and they're not doing the right thing. But what do you do here, and what are your thoughts on this?
Well, it's disappointing to see because when this news first broke, all those months ago, when was that? Like,
It was
6 months ago?
It was like after the finals, I think.
Yeah, between 4 and 6 months ago, we kind of speculated that the Hornets or some other team might use this as like a financial leverage play to like lock down a good player on a cheap deal. And it appeared that wasn't going to happen, but now it appears that the court proceedings having taken place and him not going to prison, that is what's going to happen. Which, as you said, that's not the best. But I think on a financial, on a market level, you just give him the 4-year deal and you try and lock him up at a low number. Lock him up, pardon the pun. Try and bring him in on a low number, and acknowledge that first year is just going to be completely wiped, and then you have him for three after.
But
and
then does he want to do that?
Well, the reason why I'm suggesting that is because if you just give him a 1-year deal to bring him back into the league, have him serve his suspension, and then kind of re-sign him again. Because it's a 1-year deal, they wouldn't have bird rights on him. So he would be a free agent and then be able to sign literally anywhere else for the same amount of money as Charlotte can offer him. And being 1 year further removed from what he's done, maybe that nasty, dirty taste in people's mouths has been washed out a little bit more, and they're able to say to themselves, well, he's got his sentence, his probation sentence. He hasn't reoffended. He's served his sentence. He served his suspension from the league. He's really done everything that has been asked of him. Maybe we can go after him. This is a guy who's been talked about as at least $20 million a year player.
Yeah.
So if he signs a 1 year with Charlotte and then serves his predicted 1 year suspension, what's to stop the Lakers or the Clippers or the Knicks coming in with that $25 million a year offer, and he actually says, do I want to be stuck with a 12th seed Charlotte Hornets team, or do I want to take my one opportunity to still get the bag and go somewhere where I want? Which is not something that happens for guys in their mid-20s coming off their first contract, because the team will have bird rights on you and can either just keep you there in restricted free agency or offer you enough money that it makes you stay, offer you $25 million and 1 extra year more than the other teams. But it'll be a completely level playing field, and Charlotte probably can't compete
Unless they have that French kid, because they're bad enough to be drafting in that range. It's tricky, and I'm really interested to see how it plays out. But one thing that, obviously this suspension is going to happen, and we're just going to have to live with. This is what the situation is going to be. This is just going to be a 1 year suspension, and he'll be back in the league most likely. But and that is what it is. But Bleacher Report had a thing the other day. I went on Twitter, and it came through the notification where it was like, an emoji, and it said, LaMelo Ball dapping up Miles Bridges, and it's like he's courtside in LA, and it's like, oh man, I haven't seen you in forever, man, like what's going on? And they're just embracing, and it's like, we don't need to share this. It's not like we're sitting there going, oh damn, if only he could play games. It's like the reason he's not playing games is because you beat up his girlfriend. I don't need Bleacher Report saying, he's right there. Oh.
There needs to be a little bit of editorial oversight on what kind of culture content, let's call it, NBA fraternity or courtside or cultural relevance. Have a little bit of editorial oversight on what needs to be shared. Don't give this guy an unnecessary platform for nothing. Platform. He's realistically done nothing, and that's not realistically an angle that's gonna enhance. Bleacher Report would be able to get their 20,000 clicks on that post doing anything else. Sub that in for one LaMelo Ball highlight pass, then that's your quota for the day.
But I usually don't like seeing the ones where it's like, he daps up Jay-Z. It's like, sick. I'm not going to click on that. I don't give a fuck. But it's like, why is Miles Bridges looking in this positive light where it's like, here's a dude who happens to be courtside.
Yeah, and the other thing as well is that there will be the narrative of he's gone through the legal process and he's like gotten his sentence and he's like done his time, and like if he comes back he's like going to cooperate with the league and like do the 1 year suspension, and then on the other side of it's going to be like, yeah, like don't people deserve second chances? And it's like that again is like kind of portraying him almost as like the classic storytelling arc of the hero's journey, and it's like he's like gone to the heights and then he's like been dragged down, and it's about how he responds to it and like the rest of his journey, and he goes on to save the day, when in actuality he's just a guy who like beat the shit out of his wife or out of his partner in front of their child.
But a few more bleacher clicks.
Yeah, a few more. Yeah, fucking hell, seriously.
Yeah, so that's a little bit of a sad note to end on. But just rewind back to the start of the episode and listen to the Articulate story, because it was a good one.
Yeah, and we love Articulate. Next time we talk with a microphone in between us, because I'm sure we'll probably talk, before that. But it'll be 2023. Which will be our 4th year doing the podcast. So we're closing in on 4 years. April 2023 will be 4 years of the Deep NBA podcast.
Pretty fucking cool.
Which is, I'm 25 years old, and if we want to just fudge the numbers a little bit and round 4 up to 5, that means we've been doing the Deep NBA podcast for 1/5 of my lifetime.
Fuck.
20%.
Man, fudging the numbers just gets the job done. As they say in Hamilton, fudging the numbers gets the job done.
Close enough is good enough is my personal life motto.
Sure. Dante, I'll speak to you next week. Next year. Oh! Hate myself. See ya.
The depth, the deep two. God, that's a mouthful. Anyways, I'm Marco, co-host of the Hey, Daniel Gafford, what's the name of our podcast?
The JVG NBA Tribute Show.
Wow, I can't believe it's that easy. Thanks, Gaff. You probably know us as two members of the Four Man Weave plus Marco, but we know you as our next listener.
Well said, Lucas. I gotta ask, how do we differ from the pack of basketball podcasts?
It's a great question, Marco. You see, on our basketball podcast, we have two male co-hosts.
Wow, truly groundbreaking. After this episode, stay on your favorite podcasting app and give us a spin.
If you look for PointsBet's stock exchange listing, you'll find a bucket of jargon and doublespeak as they're considered a, quote, wagering services operator, unquote. That's a corporate stretch for the colloquial friendly brogan or, hey, look, it's Chris Bosh kind of image they're sending off with their targeted advertising. I don't know about you, but take me back to the days when former pro sports players signed brand deals with hair loss clinics or Fujitsu aircons, not, quote, wagering service providers.
If you're scrolling through your Facebook feed and you come across the two of our faces morphed into one, would that make you listen to our podcast more? I mean, if it does, let us know and we'll start doing it. But when I see a few NBA players' faces morphed into one, it doesn't make me want to pull out my wallet and donate some money to my local wagering services provider.
The worst part is we're coming to accept it. Wagering service provider ads are so ingrained in our sports and the way sports is delivered to us, it's almost impossible to avoid. 3/4 of Australian children aged between 8 and 16 years who watch sport think that betting on sport is normal and can name one or more sport betting companies. When I was in school, I was struggling to remember Pokemon names, and I'd be furious if I knew that brain power was being used to put towards wagering service providers and not them.
The wagering service providers know exactly who to target. It's not okay to let them ingrain themselves in young Australians' minds. It's not okay to target people in the middle of a pandemic, and it's not okay for gambling companies to wield so much influence in the world of sports. To help kick gambling out of sport, use your voice and sign the petition at www.endgamblingads.org.au/